Hi guys, it's Megan with Vigilante Vibes, and today I want to talk to you about plot threads in the MCU that are just sitting there, or they might be close to fruition or something. Hi guys, it's Megan with Vigilante Vibes, and I am here today to talk to you about the random plot threads that are just there in the MCU. Marvel Cinematic Universe plot threads are just they're waiting to thrive. I want to discuss all the ones I came up with. If I missed any, which is more than likely I did because it happens, let me know in the comments. But before you comment and say, just be patient, or Kevin Feige said in 10 to 15 years, all of these will be resolved, yada, 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 you're absolutely right. We should be patient and just enjoy the ride, but I don't think there's anything wrong with being excited to see how all of these threads play out or just discussing them in general. So, the first one that comes to mind that kind of just sits there in the back of my brain a lot is in the Eternals, Black Knight, played by Kit Harington, picks up the Ebony Blade, which concretes his role as the Black Knight. But that's not all. We also hear Blade whisper sweet nothings in his ear, which is the first and only time so far we got Blade in the MCU. So that's kind of like two gut punches in one. Speaking of Eternals, we also got Star Fox, the brother of the mad titan Thanos, who made a cameo in the post-credit scene along with Pip the Troll, whose CGI sure was something. Star Fox, played by Harry Styles, shows up to help the remaining Eternals, and he looked so good doing it, and then they just took it away. Something about Marvel, they do not want us to remember that Eternals happened. They want us to pretend it never happened and to just move on with our lives. And I don't think we should. Just out of pure spite, even if you didn't like the movie, you got to you, you got to go for the little guy, the underdog. The next one, Sharon Carter, played by Emily Van Camp, is the power broker, and in a strange turn of events, is a villain and is a part of a bigger government conspiracy. Personally, I would have really liked to see where that went, but they were just like, you know what? Just do this and we'll never talk about it again. And I like Emily Van Camp. She's a good actor, so I would have liked that. White Vision. Of course, we have the Vision series coming up, and I can only assume it'll be White Vision. That's the main star. But I think it's bananas how long it's been since we last saw Vision in WandaVision. So, yeah, it'll be followed up, but as of now, dangling thread. The next one, Hercules. Y'all remember at the end of Thor Love and Thunder, we randomly got Hercules, played by Roy Kent, and he's sent by Zeus to get revenge on Thor. Yeah. What's wild to me is that the actor who played Hercules in that very small scene was rushed into the role. Like, I think he only had a couple weeks' notice. And he didn't have any time to prepare, like putting on muscle for the role to make him look more like Hercules should, only for it to never be spoken about again. So, it seems like a lot of wasted effort and stress to go into nothing. Speaking of Thor 4, Thor is now a father to a little girl named Love, who is actually his real daughter in real life, which is cool, or whatever. But are we ever going to see Love? Because I don't think we will. I think we're done with that point, which is fine. It's cool. It was kind of, it felt a little forced from both characters anyways. Not, I mean, I know they're father and daughter in real life, but it was just like, I guess in Thor 4, after you watch the movie, you're kind of like, this might as well happen. He might as well be a new dad for some reason. I really hate that movie. But so, speaking of father figures, Hulk. In She Hulk, well, at the end of She Hulk, we were introduced to a fully grown Hulk son, Sakaar. We were introduced to him by the same man who told Natasha Romanoff that he cannot have children. So there's that. And it was a choice. If you know anything about Sakaar in the comics, you know that the only thing he really has in common with a human being is just four limbs. This guy is crazy. He is unhinged. He is nuts. And then we get this mild mannered, calm, balding son, and it was just like, okay, sure. Moving on, and speaking of more father figures, T'Challa had a secret son, and no one knew about T'Challa Jr. except the mother Nakia and T'Challa's mother. Can I just say how excellent the casting was for little T'Challa? I feel like that doesn't get brought up enough, but like he could very well pass as Chadwick Boseman's son, R.I.P. Now, the next one, a piece of the Venom symbiote was left at a bar in the Sacred Timeline. What's wild is that Tom Hardy is done playing Venom, and the Venomverse is no more. So, what exactly was their plan here? Did they think they were going to go past Craven the Hunter and Venom 3? Because there's just no way. I don't know. I feel like it was just there just to toy with us. But the next one, I didn't want to bring it up because I don't. There's only a couple things in the MCU I do not like. And it is Thor 4 and Secret Invasion. So, Secret Invasion, Gaia, played by Amelia Clark, you guys wasted her in the MCU. She could have been something great, but you did this to her. Is now the strongest being on Earth, holding all of the powers of the Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, even Thanos. I think Marvel Studios really. So she is the most powerful being on Earth, and it's like we're just gonna pretend she doesn't exist. She doesn't. Nothing happens. No one is alerted to that. No one is nervous about that. Doctor Strange isn't like, oh, I've been keeping an eye on her. Nothing at all. We just pretend it didn't happen. But I also think Marvel Studios would really like us to forget Secret Invasion ever happened, and with that, I will happily comply. Because if you'll remember, Nick Fury said that you have to watch Secret Invasion to understand what is happening in the Marvels. I think when we all watched the Marvels, we were like, this has absolutely nothing to do with Secret Invasion. So I think Marvel's like, you know what? Back it up. Back it up, Terry. We're not going to keep going. So that's fine. I will comply with that. The next one, we can't not talk about the Council of Kings. At the end of Quantumania, we see an entire football stadium filled with various Kangs, and like we all know, this scene is absolutely useless thanks to all the stuff that happened with Jonathan Majors. But it doesn't have to be useless, folks. My dream for Marvel and this scene is to be the opening scene of Avengers Doomsday. We see all the Kangs being thrown about, dead kings laying around, just to see a being in the middle of the arena. And we see from behind, by the way. It has to be from behind, or the aesthetics won't flow. And the last Kang variant off, and we zoom in and we see it's Doctor Doom. It's the perfect way to establish just how strong Doom is, and Doom's introduction should have always involved Kang because they're so intertwined in the comics. So it just makes sense. And plus, it's right there. Marvel, just call me. I'll give you the rights to it. My gosh. Moving on. Mordo believes there are way too many sorcerers on Earth and is out to take them all out. Out to take them all out. This was a post-credit scene in Doctor Strange and in Multiverse of Madness. Mordo hunting them down is talked about in a past tense, but it felt like the credit scene was leading up to Mordo's quest being a bigger thing to be explored in a future project. Mordo. Start with this was a post-credit scene. This was a post-credit scene in Doctor Strange, and in Multiverse of Madness, Mordo hunting them down is talked about in a past tense, but it felt like the credit scene was leading up to Mordo's quest being a bigger thing to be explored in the future project. But as far as I'm aware, we only ever got that mention in Multiverse of Madness, and that scene basically means nothing now. So what can you do? But also, speaking of Doctor Strange, Charlize Theron shows up as Clea. I've never heard someone say it out loud. She's Doctor Strange's wife in the comics, and I believe she becomes Sorcerer Supreme in the comics as well after Stephen Strange kicks the bucket. She shows up to take Doctor Strange into a dark realm to stop an incursion. If you don't remember the scene, maybe a good way to remember is when we saw Doctor Strange's third eye, and it sure was a sight. But speaking of that movie, America Chavez, where are you? I know she was interviewed earlier this week about if she's in Avengers Doomsday, and of course, in the Marvel way. She didn't confirm it, but her answers were interesting to say the least. Like when she was asked about her being so hard at work on Avengers, and she responds with, very. And there's a few other little instances that sounds like she's in the movie, and she never actually says she isn't in the movie. This is an ET Online interview, by the way, if you want to check it out. Moving on. God dang it. Moving on. Moon Knight's third personality, Jake. This one has eaten away at my soul because I'm such a huge Moon Knight fan. As much as I enjoyed the series for what it was, it just wasn't a great origin for Moon Knight, and that is very, very evident, seeing as though they left off a third of Moon Knight until the very, very end. And of course, I'm talking about Jake. Jake is seen driving around Khonshu, and I would really like to see what they do with Jake. But they want us to not think about Moon Knight for some reason. Moving on, Miss Marvel, played by the amazing Iman Vellani, is putting together what we can assume was once Young Avengers, but with the aging process and the fact that it's been years now, they'll probably be called champions. We see her try to recruit Kate Bishop in a very Nick Fury way. The next one, Scorpion, played by Michael Mando, wants to know Spider-Man's identity. The good news is that this will actually be handled in Spider-Man 4, Brand New Day. The actor has been posting his looks from the set of Spider-Man 4, and it's been confirmed that he's in the movie, and all good things are coming. So it's nice to see one of these things get resolved. And I'm excited to see what they do with Scorpion. That's a very underrated villain, in my opinion. So, also, this is a whole group of dangling threads that are lumped together, but Werewolf by Night, Man-Thing, Elsa Bloodstone, where are you hiding them all, Marvel? Because they are great characters. Elsa Bloodstone is so cool. Man-Thing is so cool. I want to see them. Give us another special presentation for the Halloween time. I don't care about Marvel Zombies. I want this. So the last two is the Fantastic Four tease in Thunderbolts and the Doctor Doom tease in Fantastic Four First Steps. These are teases for Avengers Doomsday, and I'm so glad they're actually teasing the movie, giving us some kind of build-up. Personally, I think they should have taken the Thanos build-up route and dropped a Doctor Doom end credit scene with every Marvel project until Doomsday. But that's just me. I think they have a lot of ground to cover when they pivoted from the whole Kang of it all, and no matter what Kevin Feige says, they did not decide to pivot to Kang before the Jonathan Major stuff happened. There's no possible way. You put an entire phase on one man's shoulder, and I hope you guys learned from this. But we're getting Doctor Doom. We will see how it goes. Can't judge it till we see it. So yeah, those are some of the MCU threads that are just loose ends, threads. They're just dangling there. If I forgot any, which of course I did, I'm sure, let me know in the comments. And be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any more of these random things, character breakdowns, episodes, interviews, all of that. So with that being said, have a marvelous day.